Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Making Waves, the ShipRocked podcast. You're usually familiar with hearing the lovely, supple sounds of Justin Press. We're sorry about that. You are going to be saddled with me. I'm Al McManus. I'm the Director of Operations for Ask For Entertainment and second biggest P.O.D. fan on the planet, second only to Sonny's lovely mother. And Chad, I like to, before I introduce Sonny, which I've already done. Hey, Chad, why don't you say hello to the lovely people out there in podcast land?
Hello, lovely people, and I challenge Sonny's mother as the second largest P.O.D. fan. I apologize, Sonny, but I think I might take the cake.
That's awesome.
Joking, well, she's number one. We're one.
That's it.
2 or 3. I'm Chad. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Awesome.
So, ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight is the undeniable frontman for the genre-bending, platinum-selling, and 3 times Grammy-nominated and 3 times ShipRocked performers, 2012, 2015, and 2018, the band P.O.D., who has a streaming series coming soon called Satellite Over Southtown, which is happening on May 13th, May 17th, and June 10th, which you can purchase with the link in the description on this video, and we'll post it to our socials. I'm sure that you can also find it at P.O.D.'s official website, which I believe is payableondeath.com.
Yes, sir.
Making Waves, the ShipRocked podcast, live edition. What was the live edition? Recorded edition. Warmly welcomes Sonny from P.O.D.
Yeah, man. Thank you, gentlemen.
You are welcome.
Lovely to be here.
Thank you for joining us tonight. It looks like you settled into your location currently, which is where? I'm
at the Tribal Streetwear Warehouse. So I'm in Bobby's office, get to hang out.
All right.
I'm stealing his Wi-Fi right now.
Oh man, that's so cool.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, it is cool. We were going to try to go live to Facebook. We had a weird technical thing, but Sonny's his whole vibe right now with everything behind him looks pretty rad. Hopefully we'll have a couple of videos of that to put up on our socials here later. So Sonny, tell us about, this is obviously a really big deal for you guys, the series coming up, and you guys clearly are spending a lot of time promoting and talking about it, and we thank you for doing that with us. So that's where I would like to start tonight, is just tell us about how this thing came about and the genesis of the operation, and basically who can you blame for the whole thing?
Truthfully, man, I think we're kind of late to the game. Most bands have done 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 streams. When this all started, and it kind of became the thing to do, once we knew we wouldn't be on the road. First of all, the first 2 months, it was like, oh, that's cool. I'm stoked to be home. Few shows canceled, but I love being home with my family. And then once everything kind of got extended, then this whole thought of streaming and these drive-in shows and stuff like that. But truthfully, man, we're such a live band, and we feed off the crowd that we just didn't feel like it would come off correctly, or right. So I think we just held off as long as we could. But here we are now, and obviously things are getting better, but it was just time to do something. So it's still a little weird not having a crowd there, but we did do the 3 concert series, and we recorded it all in one day, and we had a lot of fun doing it. We got to rehearse for about 9 days, almost 8 hours a day, and then we banged it out, and we haven't played together in over a year. So it was just fun to be with the rest of the guys. So we'll be streaming that, and we hooked up with a cool company called Mandolin, and we did it over here at our Petco Park, which is the Padres ballpark, and it's gonna be amazing.
When you say Petco Park, because I'm familiar with it. Are you like on the field? Like what's the what can we expect here?
This Petco Park is so cool. It's a fairly new stadium, and so it's kind of like in the back of the outfield. They actually have an open lawn area, and there's an actual built-in stage there. So we just jumped on the stage, but because we have such a great relationship with Petco Park and the Padres, they turned on all the stadium lights. They had, our name up and all the, the cool LEDs, the big screen. And so they just gave us the royal treatment. And so we got to spend all day with friends and family out there. And we just did our best to do, I think it was 3 sets and over 40 songs.
Holy moly. If you don't mind, I want to go back to the rehearsals on this thing, because clearly I mean, you guys, you're going deep on this thing, right? There's the satellite, then there's the, so I got it right. There's a satellite, and then there's the B sides, but then there's, what's the one in the middle?
Fundamental Elements of Southtown, our first major label record.
I mean,
front to back.
There are songs in here that you guys haven't played ever.
Oh yeah,
ever,
there's
maybe.
There are songs that we did on the Rarities that we haven't played ever. I want to say we played every song on Fundamental and Southtown, or excuse me, Fundamental and Satellite. But on the Rarities, we did some soundtracks. There were songs that we did, that when Marcos was out of the band and Jason Shuby was the guitar player that we had written, and we've never played those live. He'd never even heard them probably, So we put together a lot of stuff, about 4 songs on our independent records that we did over 20 something years ago. So there's songs in there we haven't played for over 20 years.
That's crazy.
It was
fun.
What
does it feel like?
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
It's a lot, man. First it was just cool to be with all the guys again. Trey, our bass player, he moved to Nashville a couple years ago. So man.
One of my peoples now.
Yeah, we haven't even seen him since, the beginning of 2020, So just to get together and jam was amazing. But we kind of did our research before, just listening to old lyrics and stuff. We all went back through memory lane for sure, especially on the independent records. And then you're like, dude, why do we make 20-minute songs back in the day? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no chorus, there's no hook.
Was there a little editing going on? Did you guys change the arrangements on some of them?
No, most of the songs that we kind of play in our normal sets, we're used to jamming them out a little bit.
Yeah, my favorite.
But pretty much, yeah. But the songs that we actually had to listen to relearn, we're like, we're not changing nothing. Right. We're playing it the same way it is. It's just easy, and muscle memory kicks in a lot, and just, you obviously got to get on the horse, but once you get going, you're like, okay, I think we got this.
Yeah. Was there times when you're going through those songs, there's got to be those moments where it just flashes you back to those moments that you probably haven't even been emotionally since you recorded or listened to those songs last? Was there any of those things that stood out to you?
Yeah, once you get over that initial reaction, like, dude, what were we thinking, or we sound so differently, or that sucks, you know what I mean? It is so bad. You go through all that, but a lot of it was just memories. We worked hard independently for a long time, just in a van and trailer and playing wherever they'd let us play. So there was kind of that Atlantic days. We had a lot of good independent years that we did everything on our own, and then we jumped in, obviously, the Atlantic years and the success of those records, and all the flashbacks and memories of just how lucky we've been, all these years, and then to be able to do it almost 30 years later, it was more of a grateful session, not only to be playing outside of COVID. It seems like things are getting better and back to normal. Going through all those songs, we were just reminiscing on too much to even mention. So it was a good time.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, huh?
Yeah.
Can I ask something real quick about this whole process? And not to keep hammering on it, but you guys started 1992, right?
Yep.
You mentioned the van and trailer days. That's my band, Wilson, before we broke up, we never got past the van and trailer days. So we did something when we split. We played our last show. We did our front to back of all of our records, and we laid it to rest. And playing some of those songs, I'm going to ask you vocalist to vocalist. You forget how not only that your vocal cords in general just change as you grow older from 1992 to now, but also the way that you've learned to project as you've gotten more intelligent as a musician, and then coming back all the way back to that. Was that scary for you? I just can't even imagine being, X 10, 20 years after doing this thing that I was an idiot and just blasting my throat, and I had no idea. And then you're like, how do I make that sound like that again? Where was your your holdings, I suppose, at that, that moment?
Unfortunately for me, I think I've learned that lesson way too late in the game. You know what I mean? It's like all I knew how to do was just, blow out your voice and then, and then keep going. You know what I mean? You didn't even stop then. Yeah. But I think I'm still learning a lot of that, there is such a subconscious thing. And, obviously whatever things we've read or went through vocal coaches and just whatever to try to save your voice, especially for touring. But not only were those things kind of coming in, and I feel like I was doing better as I was going, but a lot of it was just worried because I hadn't screamed or even done anything in over a year. So even like my wife was like, are you worried? Like, because we were doing some demo stuff, we're writing and stuff. And even when I'd get there to lay down scratch vocals, I'd be like, oh, dude, I'm so rusty. Like that first couple of screams and your voice is just shot. So I was pacing myself during rehearsals. Those first couple of days I kind of let it go just to kind of callous up a little bit. But really, luckily for us, we kind of had it's probably the first time we ever practiced with in-ears. And in-ears are such a lifesaver, and that's something, again, for me, late in the game, because I always thought it just wasn't punk rock, it was.
It's not.
It's not at all.
But it's smart.
But the older you get, you're like, dude, I cannot pull. We're playing 6 days a week, in every weather, and we're touring our butts harder than we ever have. There's no way I can do this without in-ears. And so even during practice, I was mindful just to practice low, and which was still difficult because a lot of these songs, you're surprised how much cues the guys take off of just certain vocals, and before it was always like, no, we follow the drums or we follow the guitar riff, and they're like, dude, I'm following you, bro. You know what I mean? Like once I hear that one line, I kind of know where I'm at, and so it's fun, but same thing. And then recording all those songs back to back, it was getting colder and colder. I'm sipping on my tea as much as I could. I'm trying not to, I'm just trying to sing through my nose. It's just, not blow out my voice, even the screams, try to muster up from the belly. It's just, but these are just things fortunately you kind of learn as you go, which now I see it was such a benefit.
Yeah. It's just hearing, it sounds, that was so romantically like display. Honestly, just thinking about that, all of that, and all of the years that you guys have been doing it, and then to have that conversation where it's like you're still like in love with the idea of what it is to be with your buds. And
dude.
And you have a certain respect for the fans, obviously. Like that's what in-ears. Like I always thought of. I never did it until the last record cycle of our band. I was like, oh my.
Did you love it? Did you love it, Chad?
So much better.
Did you love
it? Yes.
Yeah,
but
I hate.
Not at first. At first, I was all like, no, but then I put a crowd mic out there, and I was like, oh.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's key, too. Man, that's key, too.
Yeah.
You just sound better. You listen to the recordings from, like, in-ears to, like, using in-ears, and, like, those people paid money to see us, and now I feel better about that feeling. Right.
But
back then, it was like, the fucking punk rock.
Exactly, yeah.
So, Sonny, you're a good person to ask this. We mentioned before we started recording here, I was on the road with an old country music singer named Ronnie Millsap, who's blind, and he was born with a little bit of sight, but he's been blind his whole life. And he couldn't, I told him for a long time, I was like, man, we should get in-ears. This is like at the beginning of ears. I said, man, you should probably try in-ears. That way, the monitors are consistent and you don't have to worry about, and we tried them, a couple different things we tried, but he tried in-ears, and it was a couple things were messed up. He uses his ears to stand, right? I mean, he can't see the ground, so it was a pretty trippy thing for him that he just couldn't. He lost all bearing of where he was physically in a room or in a space, right? And he said, and he's like, so that was alarming to begin with, so it kind of threw it out the window right away. He says to me, he goes, baby, baby, think about those in-ears is, you never play a bad room. And I said, yeah, and he goes, but baby, you don't ever play a good one either. I thought it was really interesting, man. Because let's face it, right? You probably had those gigs, and you have too, Chad, where maybe it's a small theater or something like that, and the monitors are right, the stage volume's right, the drums are right, everything's right.
Oh yeah.
And the room is right, like say like in Nashville, we're spoiled with the Ryman, right? And the room is right, and everything in the crowd is right, and it just feels and sounds so good. It feels like your garage when you first started, probably, right? Where you're just like, Have you? I guess you've had one gig with ears at this point, or did you have ears before?
Oh no,
I'm sorry, I'm geeking out. I'm sorry, I love the geek.
No, me too. I've had ears for some years now, but I mean, I even tried them, when I had my locks, but at first song they're gone. You know what I mean? It just when they whip out, they're gone. There's no point in having it. But then when I cut my hair, you know, again, so many gigs where you're like, dude, I just don't have that stamina anymore. You know, as much as you warm up, as much as you take care of it, it's, you know, when you get into those rooms that aren't right, like you're saying, you overcompensate. And then all it takes is one time, especially on some of these trips. I've never lost my voice completely before, but there was some of these trips where, you know, you just don't get enough rest. The older you get, your body, you can be totally normal during the day, but you get on stage and your body's like, nope, I'm going to quit right now on you. And it's, to me, that's the worst feeling ever. It's happened, I want to say maybe 3 times, you know, midway through the set, and you know it's happening. Like, dude, my voice is going, and you just feel the anxiety, and you feel so bad. Not for, you know, for the crowd. You know, like you said, they paid to be here, man, and so we've had to kind of do everything we can. I mean, from pulling people on stage to sing the songs to finish them, you know, crowd participation. You know, the guys are singing as much as they can. And luckily for us, we were able to pull it off. And then you asked the fan later, like, dude, so sorry. Like, no way, that was the best time ever. But to you, you know, you're like, dude, that it's, you know, you're just exposed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that, at that point, you have no choice. You're like, dude, I gotta jump on these in-ears. And again, like you said, you got to get used to them. It doesn't feel the same way. I mean, Trey, our bass player, our drummer, like, they refuse. I think eventually they will, but they refuse. We're old school. You like the sound, you know, and, you know, obviously bass and drums is, but it saves your ears, dude. And for me, it saves my throat. So I have no choice.
I can't imagine. You say your drummer doesn't use them? Right?
That's the one to use. That's like, that's the one that would use it first.
He's got superpower hearing, because, you know, I'm like, you're gonna go deaf, dude. As heavy, as hard as he plays, yeah, I can hear, you know, I can hear his cymbals through my in-ears. You know what I mean? I don't even have him mic. I have like his hi-hat, his snare, dude. You know, a little bit of kick. But I try to do my monitors just right too, because, you know, dude, still 5 out of 10 times, whatever, they end up coming out, or something goes wrong and you pull them out halfway through the set, and you still need something, you know. See, at least for the rumble, you know.
Yeah. Does he have a little kicker on his throne?
Yeah, he's got all this stuff, but his monitors, bro, are blasting. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how you do it, dude.
Yeah.
You can hear it through my mic. I'm like, bro, on some of the smaller stages, like, bro, your monitors are bleeding through my mic, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The sound, and then you have to yell at the sound man. You know, you're like, dude,
yeah,
it's not his fault.
Yeah, well, you know, you could tell him, hey, listen, you can either get ears or we're getting a drum shield. And that's like, he'll immediately get in ears.
Like a
cone
church.
Of shame.
Yeah, man. The cone of shame. That's right. So if our listeners don't know what that is, the drum shield is the plastic, the giant tall plastic drummer. And what that does is it prevents the sound of the drums go into the microphones on the stage. So it just
drum prison.
Yeah, man. One drummer I worked with said it was the fun inhibitor.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Sonny, I have an interesting question, or I think it's interesting. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this. So when you know, there's gigs, you know, I go back to my old client, because he's in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and that wisdom that I got from him for those 10 years was just unbelievable. But his thing, you know, at the end of a gig, we'd be on the bus, and you know, hey, how was the gig, Ronnie? And he say, oh, it was fine. He's like, you know, the monitors, his big thing was the monitors, because he hears so well. He said, you know, the monitors were this and that. I don't understand why the monitor guy would be there. And we'd work through it after every gig. This guy's done thousands and thousands of gigs, but he still wanted to nitpick, which is totally healthy and normal and appreciated. But I would say, well, Ronnie, I said, you sounded great out front. Yeah. I mean, that was always my
That's
thing.
always
like, I'm like, and it really did. I mean, it sounded amazing. He had a great front of house guy, and it was always so consistent for live musicians and live mics on the stage. It was unbelievable how good it sounded night after night. And he's like,
that's all that matters.
He's like, well, you know, but that's the question. It's hard to balance that, isn't it? You come off the stage and you're not personally satisfied necessarily with your performance, with the sound, with the screw up that you had, with the thing you thought you could have done. Right. I mean, isn't that's kind of the balance and the struggle of being a musician, right?
Yeah, it's the norm. It's very rare do you walk off and one of us isn't complaining. When I say complaining, I don't mean like, you know, bitching about it. It's just more like, dude, my monitor sucked, or, you know, it's very rare that happens. Someone is saying something happened. And then, you know, that's just normal conversation. And then Eddie or our sound guy will come in. He's like, dude, you guys killed it. Sounds so good. And we're like, really? We're like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
we just need, the coach to come in and be like, great game, guys.
Good game, boys. Good game.
You guys killed
slices.
It. Yeah. You guys killed it tonight. We're like, sick.
Yeah.
You know, because you're always your worst critics, you know.
Sure.
It's like strange. I can't imagine of all the years. I mean, you guys like we talked about the nominations, the awards, the everything, you know. And like, who's your sound guy? So what was his name? Just give him a shout out.
Oh, Eddie. We call him Eddie Boy. Yeah.
Eddie Boy. And here comes
Dr.
Eddie
Evil.
Boy after all those wins. Oh, Dr. Evil. I love Eddie.
You know Dr. Evil.
Yeah, I've toured with him. He's great.
If you know, what's Eddie's last name? Eddie Ortel.
Eddie Ortel.
Okay, yeah, I know Eddie.
You know
sure.
Eddie. You know Eddie.
Yeah.
I did a Guar tour. My band toured with Guar, and he was a guy that. But so you're waiting. You're just sitting in that dressing room backstage, you know, and here comes Eddie, and you're like, just see what Eddie says, you know what I'm saying? Like after all those wins,
what's the report?
Here's the guy who comes in here and just gives you that whole fucking bottle of champagne type sort of moment, you know?
Yeah, because it's never. I mean,
it's so cool.
You know, obviously, if the drums whatever fell over, or you know your guitar broke, it's like there's those things you can't help, but it's always just those little things that probably no one ever picks up on. You know what I mean? It's just what you wanted to do. And then when he comes in and he's like, dude, the crowd was great. Everybody loved it. Cool. You know, even when we were playing the other night into our third set, we were so exhausted and tired. You know, when you talk to like my cousin, the drummer, there's so many things you want to do because you're like, you know, that make it you. Or like, dude, I got this little feel here. I got this, you know, little spicy little thing that I usually do that, you know, sets me apart, you know, but at that point we were so tired. It's just like, I couldn't even do those things. So I'm just happy that I got through the basics, you know what I mean? So, but no, and anybody's going to hear it and be like, dude, that sounded great. But in his mind, he'd be like, man, I wish I could have did this. You know, that happens with recordings too, but you know, you record songs that you've never even really played or lived with. And then after you finally record it, mix master, you're like, dude, I wish I could do this over again. And then, you know, that just kind of carries over into live performances.
Yeah. And then you'd never listen to those songs.
Yeah.
One time you went to go air drumming your own song. You're like, I didn't do that, Phil.
Okay, then
you're not playing it like the record.
How am I supposed to air drum? This sucks.
You set me up.
That raises an interesting question. What is could you think of one in your? I mean, look, we're talking about 30 years of grinding it out here, and 20 years since Satellite. Is there one track over the years that just gets under your skin? Like, man, whatever it is, I couldn't stand my vocal performance, the guitar. Is there one?
As far as recordings go?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, dude, it would have to be recordings, right? Because you
just listening to our independent stuff. I mean, we played some of those songs and listening to it. Even like I'm sitting there with my kids and they're like, dude, Daddy, your voice sounds so. That's not you. You know, because you didn't. It's not that I know what I'm doing now. It just, you know, it's just different. You know, little. I don't know, bro. I don't know. You're like, this sounds like crap, dude.
Let me refine the question. Of your biggest hits, and we all know what they are, is there one of those where you're like, ooh, we coulda. Because that's a true artist right there. Their best piece of work, whatever they feel like is, and usually it's the newest thing is your best, right? I think that's healthy. But is there one of those in one of the iconic hits that you've had, which is amazing that you've had that many? Is there one that sticks in your craw?
There's nothing that I would say I would do differently, because I think at the time, again, I'm 30 years. I'm not this experienced. I got it down every time I go in the studio. I'm like, I'm always learning. And even in the studio to just be there in that moment, it was me just, again, never playing those songs ever. You just try to do the best that you can. And then when they had success, it was like, oh my gosh, you know, but I think that's the cool thing about doing stuff live. You know, we do extend stuff. We do change things up. You do kind of do things in a way that maybe you would have done it, you know, having known a little bit better, or some songs you do the same exact way because it feels good, you know? So there's nothing I said I would change. It just, bro, 30 years later, I feel like I'm super lucky, you know what I mean? Because I never went in this like, oh yeah, I got this down. It's like I went in this as a young kid that was just stoked to to jam with his boys. And then I never thought I'd leave San Diego,
and terrified sometimes probably.
Yeah, still. That's why you should be.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I go in the studio, I'm still terrified. I'm like, dude, because you're so naked, you know what I mean? And then you got these guys looking at you while you do it, and you're trying something out for the first time, and God forbid you mess up or squeak or whatever. It's just, you're so exposed. But that, to me, that scary process is just part of it, So I don't go in like I got this down. It's just like, dude, let's just try it out, see what happens. And I really do rely on the guys, and even who's producing at the time, to be like, dude, that was sick. And I'm like, you really? Because I could have 20 different things in my mind that I would try or I'd want to try. And I do at times, and they're like, nah, let's keep this part, or that was better. Let's go this route. And so it's constant learning, and the cool thing about having different people and working with different people, dude, you're always learning something new.
That's huge.
Chad, I'm taking over. Do you have something? Because I have like 6
No, I mean,
we're just talking shop.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to segue. I mean, at some point, I wanted to segue about something that I thought was very cool about these live streams that you did. I think I already do, and if you don't mind. So it's April 13th. You guys, so we missed it.
Yeah, it's done. Yeah.
You guys. Okay, so that pre-party, pre-Q&A, when I read what I think I read is correct, you guys did the pre-Q&A, the pre-party, the Q&A thing with your actual like A&R from back in the day who signed you to Atlantic Records.
John Rubely. Yeah, he drove down from LA just to hang out and kind of moderate the whole thing.
Can we ask you, like, that's got to be, pardon my French, that's got to be fucking crazy to be in a room together. How long I assume you're pretty close at least.
Oh no, we're and even though we haven't worked together in 10 years, he's one of the good ones. You know what I mean? And he left Atlantic. Yeah. He
wait, good.
No. He is not the evil empire whatsoever. He's not the system. He never was. He is just one of those. He even said it I had dinner with him the other night, and he's like, dude, he's just a professional fan. He's like, he helped start Lollapalooza. You know what I mean? He was around all these bands. He knows what he's talking about. He just never really fit in with that corrupt label business. You know what I mean? Because he really is trying to honor the band and lift up the band, whereas most people now, they just want to take from the band. So he hasn't changed. Like I said, there's probably 5 people I've met, in the industry that I would actually say I like. You know what I mean? And he's one of them.
2 of them being on this Zoom. Thank you.
I mean, you guys, this is different. I'm talking about
it's different.
I
see.
The paper,
yeah, no, I know. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
The guys who write the checks, you know what I mean, or try to tell your band what they're supposed to be like and do, and change you to be this or that. It's like that industry stuff. So it was awesome, and I think we spent more time talking about memories and past than we really did answering questions and stuff, because once we get together, I mean, dude, we have so much history. We did it together, and to look back, it's like we still trip out that we were able to accomplish what we did. From him just being a punk rock kid and us just being this band that never thought we'd leave San Diego. So it was definitely nostalgic.
How did he find you? That's what I mean. It's so cool that you did this, like, as not only a fan, but also like a guy who's been through some of this shit. Right. Having that moment to reflect. I mean, you're talking about 1998. This is what I'm trying to do quick math here.
20
more years. Right?
Chad, you were 9.
Yeah.
I was 9.
9 months.
No. I was 9 months. I was barely a zygote. But
good song title. Good song title, by the way.
I know, barely a zygote.
You're welcome, guys.
There you
go.
Welcome. There you go. There's your new record.
You're welcome, guys.
So when how did he find you? Like, you're in San Diego. You started in 1992. You got 6 years in there. Yeah. Most bands break up. Right. Most bands that are doing that and just trying to like rent a hall. I did all that shit. Find somebody to like let you just listen to it, mail in your tapes, whatever it is. And here comes this motherfucker. Like, how did that happen?
He obviously he was in LA already. He was A&R guy. We had done stuff independently for 6 years already. And then we at that point, I mean, that's all we wanted to do at that point. But then once we got to kind of touring all year long, selling merch out of the back of the van, and just like, okay, we've played these shows before. Maybe it's time to seek other things, you know. And at that point, I think, you know, our manager, he had made some calls, and, you know, for people to come check us out. And it's funny because John will tell the same story. He flew out to Walled Lake, Michigan. Okay. You know Walled Lake?
He's there right now.
30 minutes. It's
Bro.
I'm in the lake. No, I'm like 30
basically
minutes
yeah,
before that is. Yeah,
I'm in the wall. I'm in the wall right now.
I'm in the lake. Yeah, totally. Totally.
We played some young, you know, rock venue on a Wednesday night in Walled Lake, Michigan. There were 1,000 kids there going nuts. And he watched us for the first time and took us out to Denny's afterwards. We had a bunch of the, you know, Warriors that came with us. And he's like, there's platinum artists on Atlantic Records right now that can't even pack in a bar. He's like, and you guys, you know, but that was the work that we had done. And that's really a lot of the success. I can say it, and I don't care who's listening. It had nothing to do with Atlantic Records. It had to do, I mean, obviously they pushed the buttons. It was the fans that came with us that's first of all what got us noticed. Yeah. And then if you know the history from, you know, TRL, and before there were cell phones, kids were waiting at an hour a day at a certain time, whatever their standard time was. They were to call in to vote and said, that's my band. But that was 6-7 years that we had already built underground. And because it was the fan base that said, dude, this is my band, they were forced to listen. They were forced to, you know, because they didn't go above and beyond. They didn't do whatever. If anything, after John saw us in Walled Lake, then he set up a show at the Roxy on Sunset Boulevard, or the Whiskey. The head of the label at the time, he's still over there at Atlantic. He came, and it was the worst show ever, you know, and we were like, oh, this is bad. And so sure enough, he pulled John aside after that night, and he said, you got one shot. He said, is this the band you want to take? You know, if you get one shot, I'm giving you, because I like you, that's it. I'm giving you one shot. Is this the band you want to play that card? And he said, yes, it is. And so so they signed us regardless. And when that, again, didn't care much, when that record went platinum, then it was like, oh, we got something on our hands. And then they started to pay attention, you know what I mean? And then the little things come in, and then, you know, because we never had radio or anything at the time. It was all MTV, TRL, but it was fan voter based. And so, you know, it was our fans that really got us noticed.
Do you think that you could have gotten to that point where you're getting your record deal there in Los Angeles without the 6 years before that?
I mean, that's part of the story, you know. I mean, we had got offers from other labels, you know, while we were looking, and we turned down a lot of stuff because we just felt that that's not how it's supposed to go down, you know. Because of our, you know, I'm a man of faith, and we were known as a faith-based band, you know, and we're open about our beliefs and stuff. So there were a lot of the you know, huge Christian labels. And I never call ourselves a Christian band. I didn't know there was Christian music. I didn't know there was a Christian industry. You know, I didn't know any of these things. That's something I learned as I went. We were just a band that played from the neighborhood, right? But then once, you know, these labels at that point started to show interest, even some of the biggest labels at that point, we just didn't believe that was for us, because we were playing secular shows. We were playing with all these bands. We weren't playing in this kind of bubble. And so, like, why would we not cater, but why would we go that route when we've been doing everything on our own anyway? So we kind of really we held out, you know, and I think the stars just aligned, and when we got our shot, you know, we blew it, but our A&R fought for us.
I disagree.
Yeah, no, I know. Our A&R fought for us, and you know, the rest is history.
Do you think that it's possible in this day and age in 2021 to pull off a success story like P.O.D?
It's not the same. I think, I mean, you know, there's bands that are still hustling like we did, you know, and I believe they have, there's a lot of more opportunities, and there's greater platforms to get your music across and stuff. But there's also, you know, 20 billion more bands now than there were, you know, back then. It was, you committed to a certain thing. You weren't doing something for fun. You know, you didn't have band members in all four corners of the world and MP3s sent and, you know, play bass in one place. It was, you know what I mean? It's a different industry. You know, we were really that band from the garage, you know, from the neighborhood, making noise. and that story was kind of created for us, you know. Now bands can do it on their own, and I say go for it. Do everything you can.
As a whole, do you think that the quality of music has changed because of that dynamic?
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of the same writers that, you know, that write for, you know, if they're writing now, the same guy that's writing for a pop artist is writing for a rock band, and so it's like, oh, I see a lot of the similarities in the sounds, and too many people in the industry are chasing, you know, the way this record sounded, or that mixer, you know, or that producer. We watched that as we came up with Howard Benson. Howard Benson wasn't known, but the moment he did Fundamental and Satellite, his repertoire and list of bands after that is endless, because they were like, I want our album to sound like Satellite.
Yeah, we want that.
You know?
Yeah.
And so his career just completely blew up. And so, I don't know, it just takes a lot of the individuality and the uniqueness, and you know, and then now, because the attention span of that 14-year-old kid is just so quick, they really haven't, you know, they don't know their history. They think they do, but they don't. All they know is what they hear on their phones, even the sound. I mean, how good can it sound from your phone? You know what I'm saying? Or even now at your radio, it's just different, you know, and no one's investing the time into all that stuff. And so, you know, and a lot of the new bands that I like, but I listen, and I guess I'm old and I'm old school, but you know, there's certain sounds, even to their drums, it's like everybody sounds the same. And I'm like, dude, I've heard that riff a million times. Like, isn't that copywritten? You know what I mean? But
yeah.
but we at Fundamental, we were right at that point of Pro Tools. I remember we were gonna go with a whole different guy, Ed Stasium, who did like Living Color, and he did he did Biohazard, he did all kinds of bands, but all the sound was warm. And then when we got with Howard, he's like, let me tell you about this new thing called Pro Tools, and we're like, the heck with that, dude. We're gonna record on a computer? That's not rock and roll.
Yeah.
But somehow he convinced us. We still recorded on the tape, and then we transferred over.
Yeah.
But then by the time Satellite came out, we were like, all right, we're done with tape. This is just the way things are going now. But we were still able to get, you know, your individual sounds. But now, bro, with filters and stuff, like, it's amazing what. Before, we couldn't even take our cell phones into the studio because it was like, it's going to interfere with the stuff. Yeah. Now I'll do vocals like on a kitchen floor now, and the dogs, there's 5 dogs running around their nails, and I'm looking at the guy producing. I'm like, bro, can you get your dog out of here? Because it's going to bleed right through but there's so much technology and stuff out. Like, you don't even hear that stuff.
Yeah,
dude.
And speaking of that technology and Howard Benson, I'll be the first to tell you that his vocal plugin is amazing.
Yeah, see,
it's amazing, man. It's one of my favorite pieces of gear. His vocal plugin is fantastic.
It's all you need after your sessions too.
It's probably look, man. It's his thing. It's his thing.
I think he's got a pedal. He's got a pedal out. It's called Youth of the Nation. I think Marco's hit him up recently. He's like, "Hey, dude, like, where's my cut, homie?"
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, should I get some of this? You know,
I think there's an IP lawyer gonna call you real quick, buddy. That's
my buddy's
hilarious.
gonna call you.
Yeah. You're so right, though. I mean, I was just when I was listening to you, dude. Like, I was never there, but I relate to this story. Everybody wants to talk in our world will either love or hate Billie Eilish. I love Billie Eilish, and that's the romantic story. It didn't need it, you know. They came to you, right?
Yeah,
you know, They came to her. It's her thing, and with her brother in a room, and you look at that, how they did. All they needed was this and this and this, and don't cost more than $200 or whatever it is. And regardless of how you want to look at it, that story, though they didn't go out and grind and put
but that's the beauty of
same ethos. You can't tell me because I already fucking, I already did it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
And
if you, it's working and you want some of it, and on top of that, you're not going to tell me how I'm going to do it moving forward. And that's what you had the benefit of, with your, specifically in that day and age, with an A&R that said, there's a good chance I'll lose my job over this.
Yeah.
Right? However, I'm so committed to it that I'm going to be that mountain. I come from the I was telling Al this earlier. Not a lot of people know this, but I started singing in a band that was faith-based. I personally wasn't, but the rest of the guys were. So I was very familiar with that scene, from the back end. What was that festival in Chicago?
Cornerstone.
Illinois? Cornerstone. We played it.
Nice.
You guys played it one of the years we're playing it. Blindside. Nice. There's very few stories from that area that are like you and Blindside that came to that space. Where, like, it transcended. Even if the band wasn't faith-based in what Christian music, you're following where you're talking. I know where you played now. When you said walk away, I was like, I know exactly where you're at. And those people, they're family.
Yeah,
you
for
know, like,
sure, dude.
You don't have that the way that you like those hall. I related to hall shows because I grew up in that era. You know.
Yeah.
I think it's so. I think your story, your band. If there's not a documentary or a movie out there already floating around, you know, even if it's the catalyst of something that's larger, the P.O.D. thing is like, that's the real deal. That's the thing that doesn't happen in rock anymore, you know?
Yeah. And I think the more we talk about it, again, even reminiscing in the past few weeks, we really are humbled and grateful because of everything. You know, there's a lot that we gave up. You know, there was a season where, you know, we were just like, dude, you know, even being on Atlantic, it was like, they don't care anymore. They're just, you know, it was during the season when everybody was losing their jobs, all the labels were crumbling, you know, stuff was going downhill. And it's like, dude, they're dumping all this money to make these records that they don't care about, you know what I mean? So, and then you watch all the bands around you too, become
the new darling.
You grew up with. Yeah, you grew up with, but now they're changing, their sound's changing. And it's not like it's changing because we're experimenting or it's like, you know, you're changing because you're pleasing someone else. You know, the way you look, you're pleasing someone else. There's a lot of those politics, and we kind of came to that crossroads even in our career where it's like, you know what, like this is probably going to hurt us, this decision, because we're choosing to jump off the machine, you know, train right now, and we, you know, we counted the cost. It was a lot more than we thought, you know, because once you're out the system, it's almost like you're blackballed. You're out of the system.
Yeah.
And we already had the baggage anyway. Oh, they're at first, well, they're that Christian band, or, you know, or other things too, you know, or we're not like a lot of bands. And so, you know, sometimes that hurts you in a way, you know what I mean? But we like I said, we counted the cost, and we said, dude, we just want to make music and be fun again. Because every time, if you listen to our interviews from the beginning, we're just like, dude, whenever this stops being fun, like, dude, I don't want to be in this band anymore. And then there was a season where it's like, it's not really fun anymore, but we're a corporation now. You know what I'm saying? We're a partnership, and this is not really fun anymore. But we got to a place where, like, dude, and we fought to get off Atlantic Records, and we've I wouldn't say struggled, but I say it's a different journey. You know, we're just still trying to put out music that people will listen to and that they care about. And lucky for us, I mean, we're a blue collar band. You know, we missed that boat where you're just, dude, these guys made all this money. You would think, people think, oh, P.O.D. sold millions of records. They're sitting pretty. It's like, nah, that's not the case. We're a blue collar, hardworking band. We don't tour, we don't eat. You know what I mean? But we're still 30 years later, still having fun. I think more fun now than we were for a season there. And we might not have all the luxuries of certain bands get because their connections and their, you know, their label politics. But, you know, being able to just call the shots on your own is kind of peace of mind in itself. And, you know, you live with whatever that comes with.
Yeah. And I think the people that say, oh, there's millions of dollars here, you just got to remind them or enlighten them to the fact that it's a thing called recoupment.
Yeah.
Let's
and you hear that line too,
with the $1 on a dollar.
Oh, bro. And you can never argue any of that. You know what I mean? It's like there's those books are so deep where
it's tough.
You guys, I mean, even don't even have to go down a list, but if you put it this way, millions of records sold, and we are still in debt to the label.
Right.
How is that?
Right.
Especially now it's even more crazy because now we can make a record for $200, you know, like
right.
in your house. You know?
The other interesting thing about that, to double down on how scary that is that was in the era where you had to buy a CD for $17.99.
Yeah. So just think about
the profit, the revenue generation.
I'm not that smart, but I can do the math.
Yeah. I know. No, I know you're not. I know you're not. We know.
I can do the math right now. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. It is.
Look at the accounting. It's like there's a semi fee, a tire fee, a double driver overnight fee.
And from what I understand, guys, exactly. there's still a breakage fee in recording contracts in 2021.
A breakage. I saw it last night.
A breakage fee.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's something. Which back in the day, it was if the CD broke on the way to whatever or was broken. There's a part of that that's taken out of your. That still exists even with. There's no CDs out there.
That is crazy, dude.
Yep. So guys, I want to go back a little bit, and then we'll move on to walk the plank and maybe do a little would you rather, which is always fun. So correct me if I'm wrong, and I didn't realize this at the time, but of course I prepared like everyone else would prepare today for an interview, which is wikipedia.com.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Which is wrong, of course.
Fascinating lies to be found. You said a couple things during this interview just now that were completely different than what Wikipedia said. So that's a bunch of horse. Satellite came out on 9/11.
Yep.
The 9/11, not because I looked at the date 3 times and I was like, no, 9/11/01. And I'm 9/11. I'm like, whoa, man. I mean, you probably at the time had to answer a million questions about that. But maybe it's time's gone past enough and you have a different perspective on that time and that season, as you like to say, and I'm totally co-opting the season thing. During that season of P.O.D, reflect on that for a second.
Well, yeah, it was scheduled to release 9/11. I mean, we still even have like stickers. If you look at old, marketing, whatever tools, it's 9/11/01 satellite. Alive was top of the charts at the radio time. It was #1 on TRL. We had played Battery Park 4 days prior to 9/11. So at live TRL, they were at Battery Park. Still at that point, even not being too familiar with New York, as we're driving, I remember my good friend Matty Matt, rest in peace. He was like, "Dude, that's the Twin Towers right there." He was literally giving us the tourists, pointing out the buildings, and we're like, "Sick, that's amazing, that's amazing." And then we get home. I think one day the plan was we went to I want to say it was a Tower Records here in San Diego at midnight on a Monday.
Yeah,
because
baby.
Tuesday is when they sold
record release
records.
Day, man.
Yeah. So we were allowed to do a signing at midnight, it was just jam packed. We stayed there for hours and hours and hours with the plan to go and do an album release show up in LA. That morning, being asleep because we had been up all night, the phone rings. My wife wakes me up, turns on the TV, and it's the Twin Towers and stuff. And so, I mean, at that point, our record didn't even care. At that point, there were so many people from New York that flew out to help us with our album release, so they couldn't even go home. They ended up staying with us in our homes, and we would cook. My grandmother, we would cook for them. They stayed with us for like over a week, almost 2 weeks. And every day we would just be watching the news and trying to figure out when they could go back home. But when through the years I've reflected on it, like again, nobody cared about the record at that point as far as the band goes. It wasn't important. It was about what the state of the world. But we took pride in the fact that Alive was one of the #1 songs of the time. We took pride in the fact that we were who we were. You know what I mean? At that point, they're canceling the Slipknots of the world. They're canceling all these other heavy bands that were just talking about whatever, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, to each his own. But at that point, the world was looking for answers. The U.S. was looking for answers. And so we were really less than a handful of people that even I remember they called me from TRL. It was like me, Lenny Kravitz, and like I think it was Enrique Iglesias at the time because he had that song Hero out,
Yeah.
And but we were proud that we were lumped into a group of artists that was actually putting out something that people, they might not have known they were wanting, but even at that time they wanted it even more. They were looking for answers. What's going on? I mean, you saw the way the world kind of came together, or the U.S. came together at that time, but we knew that shortly after that they'd go back to normal, selfish world and not care. But for the moment, it was beautiful. And so, again, we were happy that we had a song. And if you listen to that song, I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking, I'm happy to be alive. There's got to be more to life. I mean, that's what's going on, And so it was a beautiful moment. And I would never want that to happen again. But I think because of that incident and the state of the world at that time, really kind of lifted up P.O.D. to a different status because people were paying attention, like, oh, that's that band that sings They Want to Be Alive. You know what I mean? So it was a connection. And it really, I mean, that record went on to just do amazing things. And so it was a great moment. Not that wasn't a great moment, but the way that, the music community came together, the way the fans embraced who we were, so we kind of made a mark in that time in history.
Chad, I'm completely fanboy and bogarting this entire interview. This is what you get when you get a substitute host. By the way, I just keep talking. I don't shut up.
So we're just talking like normal. You know?
I was power washing my patio the other day.
Solid.
Yeah, good intro, right? See, this is hours of experience that I have in hosting a podcast, and I was thinking about music that I went to see Steel Panther Saturday night out here in Tennessee. And before the show, they played Everybody Wants Some by Van Halen. By the way, this has nothing to do with 9/11. I want everyone
to next chapter.
Mom, we've moved on. Kim, we've moved on. Your mom too, Jim.
Yeah, your mom too. That was rude.
The two listeners. But I was so I saw Steel Panther, and they cranked up "Everybody Wants Some" by Van Halen before the show. Nice. Really super loud, right? There's like the background music, and then there's this thing, and it's like this is could represent what they do. And I was thinking about "Everybody Wants Some," and it was really loud on the PA, and you could really hear the panning that was going on. So I was really honed in on the production part of it, and I started thinking while I was power washing about that moment, and I thought, man. I'm the kind of guy who I'm rarely going to get in the car and have a Van Halen record in. Mm-hmm. I'm probably not going to have a Metallica record in because I've just listened to it so much. Mm-hmm. I've consumed it so much that I just have kind of phased out. Right. And then I was revisiting a lot of your music today, a lot of the P.O.D. music. And I thought for me, this is like the part where I could listen to this for the next 20 years because I don't ever get sick of P.O.D. music. It's that kind of music where it's like, yeah, when it's on the radio, you're like, I'm not going to turn the channel, which by the way is very, very, it's a sideways compliment, but it's like, I'm not going to turn the channel because it's interesting. And it's like, I'm not going to turn the channel. So it's just interesting to me that like, I've kind of moved from, and there's a few records out there like that, not just P.O.D., but a couple more. And it's just interesting that I was interested in my thought. Yeah. It was interesting that the P.O.D. has created music, in my opinion, that I can't say it's transcendent. I'm not that guy, right. But for me personally, and I can't be alone in this, it's like it kind of took the place of the Van Halens and the Black Sabbaths and the things that I could listen to over and over, and now I can listen to P.O.D. music and just be like, I'm not going to. This is still fresh after all this time. So it's a compliment to your music and I think the fact that you guys spent a lot of time doing it and grew to this, and you stayed who you were. Allowed you to not have to sacrifice and be like somebody else. So every time you do something, it's yourself and it's new and it's fresh and it sounds new and fresh while maintaining your identity, right? So I thought about that while power washing, and that is the end of my story. I'm glad, and I'm so glad that I'm done with that power washing story.
Did you clean? Did you get a full scrub?
Did you get any work done?
I wound up turning the power washer on myself, guys.
Yeah, so I got this burn.
Yeah.
No, I mean without wasting any more of your time. The same thing. I mean, I don't get in my car and listen to the radio, because there's a lot of things you could do now, But I have a playlist. P.O.D.'s on it, and
right on, man.
Seriously, and when even in that playlist when P.O.D. comes on, and it's always. I mean, it's Southtown is what happens. And then I but I have Boom on there too. And those two songs in particular, in the middle of all the other things that I've maybe more current songs that have came out, those songs stand up because they feel unique. Nice. They feel real. That's what they are. I mean, at the end of the day, it just feels like the same feeling that I had with my best friends when I was younger, making music. And you don't get to hear that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that just comes from us all being fans of different musics. We and again, our cultures, our roots, our heritage. There's this story in each individual. And it just kind of comes out in music. I get this compliment a lot, from people, or even if they don't know the new songs or or the new records, but they'll hear it. And they're like, "That's P.O.D." And I think that's the coolest compliment. Even And obviously now 20 years satellite, and we're older guys now too. There's a lot of memories and history that roll along with that. So, when I talk to guys like you or someone else, it takes us all back to 20 years ago. I was like, oh, dude. And most of it's like this kid was in high school, you know what I mean, or junior high. Like, dude, I used to skate with my buddies, or we'd practice football or whatever. We'd go skating, and we'd have this record on blast. And it's like, this is a lot of things go together, but there is definitely a sound that I think is P.O.D, and that's just where we come from. It's all the elements. And I mean, we have so many influence, but we never wanted this sound. We wanted to respect bands that we loved and take everybody's sound, but we never wanted to sound like anybody else, or at least one individual, or make the same record over and over. And sometimes there's positives to that, there's negatives, but we just, even now writing a new record, we just want to be true to ourselves, man. Yeah. But what if no one gets it? What if they don't like it? What if it's it's like, at some point you guys go, I don't care, man. Yeah. The real fan is like, dude, I love what you guys do.
And I want to say that even with Circles, when I listen to it, and it sounds like a modern day P.O.D.
It does.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it feels like that same thing. It's on. It's on.
These guys sound just like P.O.D.
I like these guys. They sound like P.O.D. These guys are cool. They remind me of P.O.D.
Yeah.
So let's since this is the Making Waves, the ShipRocked podcast, let's take a moment and let's talk about ShipRocked for a second, and then we'll go on to some other fun stuff, and we'll set you free, and we'll release you into the world, into the scary world out there. So last time you were on, what did I say? 18. So three-time loser. That's a joke. 3 felonies, three convicted felons of ShipRocked. What sticks out to your mind?
And a misdemeanor. I was a stowaway.
Oh, you were a stowaway. That's right. Yeah, was that that was when you
2017
did you were up there? It was the Buck Cherry, right? Because you sang is that
we did a Beasties, and we did a Lincoln Sabotage, we did Beasties, and then we did a Linkin Park 2 in the end. We did it with Doug from Hoopestang.
Stowaway's probably top 3. That Sabotage was
dude, it was so much
crazy, man. Yeah, the energy was great, because it was you and Jacoby and
Josh from Buck Cherry.
Josh, thank you. Yeah, that was like, kind of the 3 most popular frontman, like the bands that we've had on ShipRocked, and they're all on the stage at the same time doing this song. That was great.
It was fun.
Yeah. So ShipRocked in general, give us the paragraph. How do you feel about
it? Dude, I love it, man. My wife comes with me every year. I'm planning on this year. Hopefully, my daughter just turned 21, so might have to throw her in the mix.
Yeah, might have to edit that. Might have to edit that. Now, quick note: edit at minute 61. Full edit. Yeah.
We have a blast. I remember even when it first started, the concept was, I remember being on there in a half full ship, and everybody was still kind of getting used to how things go. But now it's like it's so comfortable. You know what I mean? You see familiar faces. That you actually look forward to seeing every time you jump on ShipRocked. And then now, even when they come out to the shows, it really has become this kind of music rock and roll family. You know what I mean? And we have a blast every time. I'm always asking Danny, I'm like, dude, I'm down to do whatever, bro. Bring me on, give me a place to stay, me and my wife, and we'll roadie, we'll do whatever. It's just we have a good time every time we go.
Another edit that out and send it to P.O.D.'s agent. Send it to their agent. Do not pay this man. Do not pay him. Note to self.
Note to self. Work for free.
Moments on the ship ever from playing. Sorry, Al. Even after playing and all that stuff, is being on the beach and watching you guys play. Like it was. It was like the. How did it feel for you? Because for me, I'm like, this is the best fucking day of my whole life, right now.
It was rad, dude. Mm-hmm. The scenario. I still have pictures on my phone, dude. The scenario was awesome. I think Danny and they kind of specifically put us there because, they knew we'd kind of break it down a little bit, maybe throw a little reggae mix in there and some stuff. But there were so many people on the beach. And then from the stage point of view, just to see people like floating in the ocean on whatever with their drinks and hanging out, and everybody kind of spread out under the sun. It's like it was surreal, and it was a cool moment. Like I said, I still have the pictures in my phone. My wife was with me. That little abandoned ship that was there, the backstage spot. And so I think we even got to do it again on a different island. We just told Danny, we're like, we want that slot, dude. We want the beach day slot. You know what I mean? That's just the most fun. I think everybody, especially after a few days being on the ship, once they get off and they get to run around and be in the ocean, is like everybody's just in the best mood possible. So they could put anybody on there and it's going to be awesome. But
no,
no, I disagree. I totally disagree.
I've seen some really bad ones.
Okay.
I'll edit that part. I'll edit that part out too. So there was two. You did two beaches.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You did the one beach performance.
No, we did two beaches, but one was just us. And I think otherwise maybe. One I remember was with Non Point.
Yes.
Okay, that was a pirate ship.
Otherwise.
Yeah.
That is the one that was like I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. We've been there 100 times. That's the pirate ship. Now their story for our podcast listeners, ShipRocked fans and ShipRocked guests. The stage didn't make it that day. That's what the hell is that? The stage does not make it. You probably don't even remember because you're just like, hey, is this the stage? Great. They were supposed to, right? There's this, it's on. Here we go. But there was supposed to be a stage there, and the stage didn't make it. And the 3-second story of that is there was a guy that we worked with named Angel. There was another person named Angel who worked at the beach. And everyone got confused as to what Angel was talking to what Angel. Wow. And in that Angel confusion, there was no stage delivered. So you and Otherwise played that, and it was so great. It was like stage. It was fun, and that's where you go back to. I didn't know
that. Yeah, but it was a weird dynamic, and I thought it was. Oh, you know what? But it's still a pirate ship, so it's all cool.
That's right. So good. Yeah. And in 2012, you played the stage on Great Stirrup Cay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. That was the smaller private island. And I remember that because another cool story, at least I think it's cool. I worked all day in the sun, and there was all the events and all this stuff. And people running into each other with whatever, just crazy stuff that we do. And my wife was on that cruise, and she's been on several, but hasn't been in years. And I was just beat. I grabbed a beer, and I'm like, let's walk down the beach. I want to get far enough away to still hear the band. So we walked in the water. We got down to like the edge where it was, I don't even know how far, 500 yards from the stage. And we just sat, she and I just sat with our feet in the sand right on the beach. And you guys were playing down here within earshot, and the sun was setting, and it was like,
oh, nice, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so rad.
We didn't make sweet love. I mean, that's how you cap a story like that. You cap a story with "we made sweet."
That would have just ruined it. That would have ruined the moment.
And there's I'm sure there's a breaded shrimp joke in there as well. Yeah, that we'll leave out.
100%. I was like, yeah.
So that was another cool point. But the beach performances are there's always something special happening. It seems like it.
Yeah, it really is a good time, and I think all the ShipRocked fans have kind of learned, and they've grown since those early years. Because I remember those first years, it was just a mess, That
was before I worked there.
Got you, but the bosses.
The boss needs to get out of his chair.
Yeah, he's like, I got TPS reports to file.
Your hour's up, buddy.
Well, this is perfect. We're gonna go to Walk the Plank, and I'll play the music while you're doing this.
We're gonna walk the plank, baby.
No worries.
Here's a little number for walking the plank, walking the plank. It's a little number for walking the plank. We're gonna walk it, walk the plank. Walk it.
All right.
Very good.
Walk the plank.
First question for you, Sonny, is what's the last thing you cried about?
Oh, dude, I'm a baby. Nothing specific. I'm just, the more I've grown in my faith and a daddy, I mean, my kids, I have moments with my kids where I go watch them on the volleyball field, the softball field, baseball field, and just, I'm like a punk. Thank God I have glasses. You know what I mean?
Same.
I just, dude. Or, or I get to talk to a lot of people, and then, you know, we do share our stories and just, you know, whatever, those moments of just gratefulness. It's hard for me, you know, I don't know, again, being a person of faith, it's just one of the things that I know my faith is legit because it's taken a heart of stone, you know what I mean? And it really has softened it up. And so when I see beautiful things now, I'm just like, oh, dude, here it comes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
well,
amazing.
let the record show that the witness failed to answer the question. Chad, go ahead.
My question is, do you have a favorite quotation, and what is it?
Oh, recently, and I'm using this for my nonprofit charity.
That's a good question.
Is by Frederick Douglass, and it said it's. See, now you're gonna look at you. Put me on the spot.
No, do it. I'll edit this out.
The spot is so good to be.
It is.
It's like
it's that spot at that far end of the beach. P.O.D.'s listening.
Let me see. I got it on my.
You said Frederick Douglass.
Frederick Douglass, yeah.
It's gonna be fired then.
Yeah, and it's let's see. It's okay, and I'm using it because I started up a nonprofit, and it's called Sonny Sandoval's Youth of the Nation Foundation.
Oh.
And quote by Frederick Douglass says, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men."
Mm.
And so, again, being Sonny Sandoval's Youth of the Nation Foundation, just investing into young people, into their futures, giving them opportunities that they most likely wouldn't have had, you know, being from the same hood I'm from. I believe in these kids. I think they just need a shot or two.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, that's Thanks, awesome. Man. Hey, and as that thing gets together, man, let us know how ShipRocked can help, please.
Yeah, dude, for sure, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So our last question for Walk the Plank is from a fan, and they're generic questions. So we gather them, and then we pick one, and we ask you. So it's not going to be you related, just in general. So the question today is, what temptation do you try the hardest to resist?
Food.
Not the first time that's been the answer, huh, Chad?
Nope.
Dude,
what kind?
I love
it's real.
I'll be out of here in 2 minutes. I love, bro. I mean, whatever. That's not as fun and as spicy, but yeah, I would say I love food, and if I ate the way I wanted to, I would, you know, I just wouldn't be able to move.
Yeah, honey. Yeah, extra large, babe.
Yeah. Pepperoni,
diet Coke, diet. Thank you.
As long as it comes with Diet Coke, we're set. We're set. Everything else, though, man. I mean, whatever. I'm not a perfect human being, but I don't know. I kind of got a lot of things. I just try to use my best self-control as possible. Again, not that I'm perfect, but I'm very aware of those temptations, and so I do my best to defend, you know, just for all the right reasons.
Well, I'm sure you're doing a very good. You look incredibly beautiful and healthy. So.
I still want to drop, about 20 lbs before ShipRocked. You know, before ShipRocked, I gotta get
there. You go.
Hey, and speaking of which, Marcos looks amazing still too. I guess,
yes.
Right? So he's hanging in there with his
health.
Bro,
he's solid.
Yeah.
I've never seen him so committed, man. He's doing so well. He
happy for
amazing.
him. I love him to pieces. I'm so happy
for him.
I'm
the big guy in the band. What's going on here? I can't be the front guy and be the big
you're
guy.
Right. You're right. No pressure. So we're gonna wrap this thing up with one quick thing. We're gonna do a lightning speed round of Would You Rather, if that's okay with you, Sonny. If you're not getting kicked off of Hanrahan's.
No, we're good.
Hanrahan's office space there. Chad, go ahead.
Yeah. So real quick to preface this is just there's one or the other. You don't need no backstory. Even if it's awkward, you just
got you.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't explain
sorry.
myself.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. They're really easy.
All right. So always would you rather? Okay. So would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the most intelligent?
Most intelligent.
We're supposed to be rapid fire, but I have so many questions. I'm sorry. Okay.
I don't need to please people.
And furthermore, I'm so disappointed in the answer. Would you rather reverse one decision you make every day, or be able to stop time for 10 seconds every day?
reverse a decision.
Would you rather?
What am I going to do in those 10 seconds?
See, Chad. Now you're the one who said no. We don't need any. We
No
wasted our time about my stupid beach story with my wife. We could have dug into this.
Would you rather win $50,000 or let your best friend win $500,000?
Let my best friend win $500,000.
Yeah, I think that's an easy one, right?
Yeah, it's easy.
Know.
I think that's it, because then he could just give you $50,000 anyway as a commish.
Maybe.
I could probably get more.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. You're right. Yeah.
Sonny, would you rather run at 100 miles an hour or fly at 10 miles per hour?
Fly.
As stated in some of your hits.
Yeah, you don't seem too happy with my answer. Then you not let me explain.
I know. That's what makes me unhappy, is that we can't dive deeper.
Yeah,
we just have to work.
Another podcast.
I know, right? Would you rather continue with your life or restart it?
Continue.
Good answer.
Yeah. Would you rather be able to talk your way out of any situation?
Oh, great.
No, I don't know why it's that funny. It's just
so funny.
Because you already predicted my answer, huh?
Yes. Would you rather be able to talk your way out of any situation or punch your way out of any situation?
Talk my way out of any situation.
Look, I got to take a second, though, because what if there's a situation where you have to punch your way out?
I'll do it.
You're getting hit.
Then I'll do it, but you can't. You have to talk. You're getting hit.
Who said no? I'm just saying the best option would be to talk, but trust me, I punched my way out of plenty situations.
I can't wait until the day that we ask that question and somebody's like, punch.
Yeah.
Okay, next question.
Next.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Zach Wild is on the clock.
Yeah. There you go.
No. Would you rather have free Wi-Fi wherever you go or have free coffee wherever you go and whenever you want?
Dude, free coffee.
Yeah. I'm there. This one is completely okay. I'm not even going to say it. Would you rather have 7 fingers on each hand or have 7 toes on each foot?
7 toes.
Ooh.
That's a surprising answer.
I just not going to wear slippers. You know what I mean?
But God, think of the the flexibility.
No one would ever.
But the new things you could do with your hands.
Bro.
I mean, granted, you wouldn't have made it past your 8th birthday.
No one wants to hang out with you, but
yeah.
And furthermore, you could take those 7 fingers and really punch your way out of stuff. You know?
See, that would have went well if I answered punch my way out. You know?
Oh man, yeah, you've just been this aggressive dude in
the
podcast.
Take my 7-fingered hand and punch my way out.
Would you rather have a dog with a cat's personality or a cat with a dog's personality?
Cat with a dog. I can't explain. Cat with a dog personality.
Okay. I totally get where you're going to go, though.
I love cats.
Yeah.
They don't listen.
I do too. Would you rather know how you will die or when you will die? How?
That's brutal, man.
It is brutal. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Hey, I never thought I'd live this long. So
yeah.
You know,
what's that?
What if it was like you fell downstairs and every time the stairs came up, you're like, nope.
Yeah. Nope.
Well, that's it, man. That's the whole segment.
Yeah. So, well, folks, that has brought us to the end of our live stream. Actually, that's become the end of our podcast for tonight. Check us out again next week for another live segment. We hope, actually, and then the one we're looking forward to 2 weeks from today is going to be Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm will be on the podcast, and likely we'll be going live on Facebook. And be sure to check out the rest of our episodes, including Walk the Plank and other segments we've got going on. And always like, share, subscribe, download, tell your friends, et cetera. And once again, remember that the P.O.D. streaming series, the series called Satellite Over Southtown, is happening on May 13th, May 27th, and June 10th. Get your tickets, get your codes, get all that stuff taken care of. On behalf, you got yours.
Nice.
I'm trying to find a friend, see if I can get backstage pass. So on behalf of myself, Al McManus, sitting in for the irreplaceable Justin Press, thank you to my co-host Chad, our lovely guest Sonny. Mm-hmm. Thanks to everybody at Ask For Entertainment who helps us put the show together, Jennifer Zito, Heather Smith, and of course, nothing would be possible here without our captain, Alan Koenig. We remind you all to rock hard and vacation harder. We will see you and hear you next week. Stay salty and stay hydrated.
Good to see you, man. Thanks,
Sonny. Thank you so much for being
here. You too, fellas. Great talking with you guys, man. You guys be good out there.
Likewise, man. Take care.
All right, gentlemen. Bye-bye.